And I'm really proud at this point to turn it over to our very first student presenter, Mark Graziano.
Thank you very much. As it was stated earlier, I will be covering the God problem, and more specifically, I will be covering how St. Paul looked at the God problem. So for those of you that don't know what the God problem is, it is how we take into account God when it comes to communication and how he fits into the communication model. So I will first get into how St. Paul would look at the God problem. So St. Paul quite literally uses God and the word of Jesus in his messages. So St. Paul very much considers God as a part of the communication and kind of the reason behind communication in general. So I then took a look at the letters that St. Paul wrote to the Romans, and I pulled out a few quotes, the first one being, he thanks God for the Romans before he even speaks to the Romans, which is this first quote, "First I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you." Before he even begins talking to the Romans, he thanks God for having them be here listening to him. Then he says, "It is the power of God for salvation to everyone who has faith." So in both of these quotes, he puts God first, and he knows that God is the overarching reason behind communication and the first thing that will always come. So I made a little diagram here of how St. Paul would take a look at the communication ways in the diagram. I'd have God here up top, communicating to everyone, and he facilitates it all. And St. Paul shoots his message to God, thanks him for the people of the Romans, and then he speaks to them about how they need to follow God, and God would be overseeing the entire thing. And that is a brief overview of what my project will be. Thank you very much for listening.